Hi, welcome to this Corbettmaths video. In this video, we're going to look at the video solutions to the Indices practice questions. If you need any extra help on Indices, if you go to corbettmaths.com/contents and scroll down to video number 172, there's a dedicated video tutorial there on Indices. Alternatively, you could scan this QR code. But in this video, we're going to be looking at the video solutions to the practice questions, so let's get started. So question number 1 says match up each of the following. So we've got 2 cubed, 5 to the power of 4, 8 squared, 3 squared, 4 to the power of 5 and 2 to the power of 8. So 2 cubed, well that means 2 times 2 times 2. So that's going to be that one. 5 to the power of 4 will mean 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So that's going to be that one. 8 squared means 8 multiplied by itself. So it's going to be that one. 3 squared will mean 3 multiplied by itself. So that's 3 squared. So it's going to be that one. 3 times 3. 4 to the power of 5 will be 5 4s multiplied together, or 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, so that's that one. And finally 2 to the power of 8 will be 8 2s all multiplied together, so it's going to be 2 times 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 2, and that's going to be that one. So that's it to have matched up each of the following. And that's it, that's question number 1. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 2. So question number 2 says circle the value of 3 cubed, 3 to the power of 3, which is 3 cubed. So that would mean 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, and then multiplied by 3 would be 27. So 3 cubed is equal to 27. So the answer would be 27, that one. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 3. So question number 3 says work out 5 squared plus 2 cubed. So it's 5 squared, so it's going to be 5 times 5, and 5 times 5 is 25. So 5 squared is 25, and then we've got plus, and then we've got 2 cubed, so that's 2 times 2 times 2. And 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So 2 cubed is 8. So we've got 5 squared is 25, and 2 cubed is 8. Now we just need to add them together. And 25 plus 8 is 33. So 5 squared plus 2 cubed is 33. So the answer is 33. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 4. So question number 4 says work out 3 cubed subtract 4 squared. So 3 cubed, we've looked at that in question number 2 already. That's 3 times 3 times 3, and 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, because 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, so that's 27. So 3 cubed is 27, then we've got subtract, and then we've got 4 squared. So that's 4 squared, which is 4 times 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. So 4 squared is 16, so we've got 3 cubed, which is 27, and 4 cubed, which is 16. Now we've got to take them away. 27 take away 16 is 11. So the answer is 11, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 5. So question number 5 is a calculator question. So I'm going to have a look at this question using 2 different calculators. I'm going to do the question first of all using this calculator, and then afterwards I'll use this model, just because the squareds and the cubes and the power buttons may be in slightly different locations. Okay, so let's start off with 2.8 squared. So let's turn the calculator on. So turn it on, and then we're going to type in 2.8. Then this calculator has a squared button. You can see here there's a squared button there. You could press the power button and then type in the 2 for the squared if you wish, but I'm just going to press the squared button. So just press the squared button. So we've got 2.8 squared, and then plus. And now we need to type in 7 cubed. So I'm going to press 7. Then I want it to be cubed. So I'm going to then press the power button, which is this one, and then type in 3. And as you can see, we've got 2.8 squared plus 7 cubed. And then if we press exe or equals, we get that's equal to 8,771 over 25. Let's change that into a decimal. I'm going to press format, and then I'm going to go down to decimal and press exe, and then that changes it to 350.84. So 2.8 squared plus 7 cubed is 350.84. Now just to show you in this calculator, if we wanted to work out question 5 using a calculator like this, so if you've got a slightly different model, turn it on, and we're going to type in 2.8. Then on this calculator, the squared button's here. It's a little X with the little 2 above it. So I'm going to press squared, and then press plus. And then we've got 7 cubed, so I'm going to press 7. Now this calculator, it does have a cube. You can see just above the squared in yellow, we've got this cube. So we could press shift and then the squared button, and that gives us our cubed. So we've got 2.8 squared plus 7 cubed. And then if we press equals, that's equal to, again, 8,771 over 25. And I'm just going to press this SD button, and that gives us our answer of 350.84, and that's it. Now just to show you on this calculator, if we hit to press 2.8 squared and then plus, and instead of using the cubed, if we wanted to type in the power button, you've got your power button here. So if you press that and then type in 3 and then press equals, it gives you the same answer again, 350.84, and that's it. So the answer is 350.84. 0.84. And it says it's really important you know where the squared button is, the cubed button if you've got one on your calculator. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 6. So question number 6 says calculate Part A, the cube of 8. So that's 8 cubed. So that's going to be 8 times 8 times 8. So we need to work out what 8 multiplied by 8 is, which is 64. So 8 times 8 is 64. And now we need to multiply that by 8. So we're going to do 64 times 8. Now I don't know that one off the top of my head, so I'm going to do 64 multiplied by 8 and see what we get. So 8 times 4 is 32. So let's put our 2 down and carry our 3. 8 times 6 is equal to 48 plus 3 is 51. So it's going to be 512. So 8 cubed is 512. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next part. Part B, we've been asked to calculate 2 to the power 5. So it's 2 multiplied by 2, multiplied by 2, multiplied by 2, multiplied by 2. So it's 2 to the power 5. You've got 5 2s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're multiplying them all together. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So that means that 2 to the power 5 is 32, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 7. So question number 7a says calculate 4.25 to the power of 4, and to write down our full calculator display and to give our answer as a decimal. So I'm going to press 4.25 and then press the power button and then to the power of 4. So 4.25 to the power of 4 and press equals. Now whenever I do that on my calculator, it gives me this answer. It gives me an answer of 83,521 over 256. Now that's a fraction, so I then need to change that into a decimal, and that would be 326.2539063. And that's it. So 4.25 to the power of 4 as a decimal and as our full calculator display would be this. And then part B says to round our answer to one decimal place. So we've got 326.2539063 and so on. And we've been asked to round that to one decimal place. So it's going to be 326 point, and we now need to decide which one digit we're going to have here. So our choice is either 326.2 or 326.3. Now, as you can see here, it's 539 and so on. So it's going to be closer to 326.3 than it is to 326.2. Or you could look at the value of the digit in the second decimal place, which is a 5. So that means you round up. So it's going to be 326.3, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 8. So question number 8 is a non-calculator question, so I'm putting down my calculator, and we've been asked to work out the value of 9 cubed. So that's 9 multiplied by 9 multiplied by 9. So 9 times 9 is 81, so we've got 81 multiplied by 9. So 81 multiplied by 9, and let's see what we get. 9 times 1 is 9, and 9 times 8 is 72. So that means our answer is 729. So that means that 9 cubed is 729. Okay, let's have a look at our next one, part B. Part B says to work out the value of 3 to the power of 4. So that's going to be 4 3's multiplied together. So it's going to be 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3. So you've got 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And we need to work out the value of this. So let's work it out. 3 times 3 is 9. Times 3 is 27, so we've got 27, and we still need to multiply by 3. So 27 multiplied by 3, let's see what we get. 3 times 7 is equal to 21, so let's put our 1 down and carry our 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8, so the answer would be 81. Or another way that I could do this is to say, well, this part, 3 times 3 is 9, and this part, 3 times 3 is 9, and then 9 times 9 is 81, and that's it as well. Okay, let's have a look at part C. Part C says work out the value of 10 to the power of 6. So it's going to be 10 multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10, multiplied by 10, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, multiplied by 10. So that's going to be 10 to the power of 6. So we could work this out. Now there's a bit of a shortcut, I'll talk about that in a second. So 10 times 10 is 100. Times 10 is 1,000, times 10 is 10,000, times 10 is 100,000, times 10 is 1,000,000. So it's 1 and then followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. And as you'll notice, 10 to the power of 6, the power 6, and the answer has also got 6 zeros. So if you get 10 to the power of 6, you could just put 1 down and followed by 6 zeros, which is 1,000,000. If you had 10 to the power of 5, you could put a 1 down and 5 zeros and so on. That's just a bit of a shortcut which might help you work out those powers of 10 quite quickly and easily. Okay, and this one, part D, this one's quite nice. We've got 1 to the power of 7, so we've got 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, and you'll see in a minute, I don't actually know why I'm writing this down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 and so on. Well, 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1 and so on. So the answer is just 1. So 1 to the power of 7 is equal to 1. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 9. So question number 9 is a calculator question again. That's fantastic. So question number 9 says to calculate 3 to the power of 6. And it's a calculator question, so we don't need to work out 3 times 3 times 3 and so on. What we can do is just type into our calculator. So in this calculator, we're going to type in 3, and then we're going to press the power button, which is this one here. So we press that, we can see this little box just above the 3, and then if you type in 6, you've got 3 to the power of 6. And then if you press exe or equals, we get that's equal to 729. On this calculator here, the power button's there. It's a little X with a little box above it. So if we press 3 and then press that button and then press 6, you got 3 to the power of 6. And again, if we press equals, that's equal to 729. And that's it. So our answer is 729. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 10. Now, question number 10 says work out -4 cubed. Now, we've got to be careful here because it's a -4 cubed, so we're dealing with multiplication involving negative numbers, and we'll talk about that in a wee second. So we've got -4 multiplied by -4 multiplied by -4. And just remember that a negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative times a positive is a negative. So remember your rules whenever you're multiplying negative numbers together, and it's negative and positive numbers together. So -4 times a -4. So we've got a negative times a negative, so that's a positive, and 4 times 4 is 16. So -4 multiplied by -4 is 16. So we've got 16, but we still need to multiply that by -4. So we've just multiplied -4 by -4, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So 4 times 4 is 16. Now we've still got to multiply that by -4, so we now need to do 16 multiplied by -4. Now positive times a negative is a negative, so our answer is going to be negative, and we now need to do 16 times 4. So 16 multiplied by 4, and let's see what we get. 4 times 6 is 24, so let's put our 4 down and carry a 2. And 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. So our answer will be -64. So -4 cubed is equal to -64. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 11. So question number 11 says, Matthew says 10 to the power of 7 is equal to 1,000,000. Is Matthew correct? And explain your answer. Now, as we talked about in a previous question, because it's 10 to the power of 7, we could just put a 1 down and follow it by 7 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because we've got 10 to the power of 7, so the answer would be 1 followed by 7 zeros. We could do that also by doing 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could do it that way, and I'll come back to that in a second. Now we've got 1 followed by 7 zeros. I'm just going to put little commas in to help me with my place value. So put 1 there and 1 here. So we've got that's equal to 10 million. Now he said the answer is equal to 1,000,000. Is Matthew correct? No, the answer is actually 10 million. So let's write that down. No. And I've written down no, the answer is 10 million, and that's it. Now if we go back up, if you'd done it this way and wrote 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, you could have done this. 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, times 10 is 10,000, times 10 is 100,000, times 10 is 1,000,000, times 10 is 10 million, and you would have got that answer as well. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 12. So question number 12, we've been asked to fill in the power. So we've got 2 to the power of something is equal to 16. So let's see what it would be. So we've got 2 times 2, well 2 times 2 is 4, that's not 16. Let's times by 2 again, well 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, that's not 16. Let's times by 2 again. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. That's it. So that'll be 2 to the power of 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 2, so it's going to be 2 to the power of 4, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 13. So question number 13, we've got 10 to the power of something is equal to 100,000. That's 1 followed by 5 zeros. Now looking at the questions we've done previously, because it's 10 to the power of something and we've got a 1 followed by 5 zeros, the power will have to be 5. And let's just check that. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, times 10 is 10,000, times 10 is 100,000. So it's going to be a 1 followed by 5 zeros. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Fantastic. So that's it. So that's going to be to the power of 5. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 14. So question number 14, we've got 7 to the power of something is equal to 16,807. So again, we could just do 7. Well, that's 7 times 7 is 49, times 7 is equal to 343, I think off the top of my head, times 7 is equal to 343. Answer times 7. So if we times by 7 again would be 2,401, and times by 7 again, one more 7 would be 16,807. So it's going to be 7 to the power of 5, and that's it. Okay, our next question, question number 15. Question number 15, we've been asked to work out 12 to the power of 4. So that's going to be 12 times 12 times 12 times 12. So that's going to be 12 to the power 4. So let's work this out and see what we get. So 12 times 12, well, 12 times 12 is 144. So we've got 144. And then we're going to multiply that by 12. And then we're going to get that answer and multiply by 12 again and see what we get. So let's start off with our 144 times 12. So 144 multiplied by 12. So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 1 is 2. Now let's multiply by 10, so put a 0 down. 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 1 is 1. And adding them together would be 8 plus 0 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12, put our 2 down and carry our 1. And 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and then our 1. So that means that 12 cubed, 12 times 12 times 12, is 1,728. But when we needed 12 to the power 4, so we've multiplied by 12 once, but now we need to get that answer, this, and we need to do 1,728 multiplied by 12. And whenever we do that, we'll get our final answer. So 1,728, and we're going to multiply by 12 and see what we get. So 2 times 8 is equal to 16. Put a 6 down and carry a 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 7 is equal to 14. Put a 4 down and carry a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So we've multiplied by 2, now let's multiply by 10. So put a 0 down. 1 times 8 is 8, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 7 is 7, and 1 times 1 is 1. And if we just add these together, we'll get our final answer. 6 plus 0 is 6. 5 plus 8 is equal to 13, so put a 3 down and carry a 1. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 plus 7 is 10, so put a 0 down and carry a 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So the answer is 20,736. And I'm just going to check that my calculator, make sure I've done that right. 12 to the power of 4 equals 20,736, and that's it. So what I done in this question is I done 12 times 12 is 144. I then got that answer and multiplied that by 12 and got that to be 1,728, but we now needed to multiply by one more 12, and that would be 20,736. That's one way to do it. Alternatively, we could have looked at it this way and said, well, 12 times 12 is 144, and 12 times 12 is 144, and then just do 144 times 144, and that would also give you that answer as well. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 16. So question number 16 says, given that y cubed is 216, write down the value of y. So we know that a number cubed is 216. There's a few different approaches we could use for this question. One approach is, well, we could try and work it out by considering, well, if we know that 5 cubed is equal to 125, what would 6 cubed be? And 6 cubed, if we do it on our calculator, 6 cubed is equal to 216. So that means that y must be equal to 6. That's our answer. Another way to do it is, well, if we know that a number cubed is 216, we could work out the cube root of 216, and that would tell us what number would multiply by itself and by itself again to give us 216, and that might be one of possibly 2 answers or 1 answer. So we're going to be doing the cube root, so on our calculator, the cube root of 216, and press equal, so we'll do the cube root of 216, and that's equal to 6. So that means that our answer is 6, and we've got 6. Now one thing to check is, well, could negative 6 work? And if you've done negative 6 times negative 6 times negative 6, well, negative times a negative is a positive, times a negative is a negative, so negative 6 wouldn't work. So that means that our value for y would be 6, and that's it. So either 6 cubed is 216, and that's one way we could just work it out. Alternatively, because we know that the number cubed is 216, we could do the cube root to go backwards, and that tells us our answer would be 6. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 17. So question number 17 says, given that x to the power 4 is 625, write down the possible values of x. Now this question says the possible values of x. Well, let's have a look at this. We've got a number to the power 4 is 625. That's a calculator question, so we could get our calculator and do 4 to the power 4 and see what that's equal to. And 4 to the power 4 is equal to 256, so it's not that. So let's try 5. 5 to the power 4 is equal to 625. So that means that one possible value for x would be 5, because as you can see, 5 to the power 4 is 625. So that's one possible answer. Okay. Now, in terms of another possible answer, because it's to the power 4, well, that means that one answer is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. That would be 625. Another possible answer would be negative 5, because we've got negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. And if we have a look at this, a negative times a negative is a positive, times a negative is a negative, and then times by a negative again would be a positive, so that would also be 625. So there's 2 possible values here for x, either 5 or negative 5. So that's our 2 possible answers, 5 or negative 5. Now just go back up to the last one. This one didn't have 2 possible answers, because remember we had 6. We had 6 times 6 times 6 is equal to 216, but negative 6 times negative 6 times negative 6. So if we have a look at this, we've got a negative times a negative, which is a positive, times a negative, which is a negative. So the answer would be negative 216. So in this case, the only possible value for y would be 6, whereas in this one, there's two possible solutions, and it's to do with the power. This one's got an odd power, so that means that because it's a positive answer, it can only be a positive, but because this one's an even power, it could be a positive or a negative. Now, if we have a look here, another thing to look at is, so our answers are 5 or negative 5. Now, in this case, we use trial and error to get what value of x was. We tried 4, then we tried 5. We could have done the fourth root of 625, so on our calculator, and that gives you 5. So that means that one of your solutions is 5, and then you would just consider negative 5, and that would be the other solution. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 18. So question number 18 says, given that 2 to the power of 6 equals y cubed, write down the value of y. So let's work out what 2 to the power of 6 is. So 2 to the power of 6. Now, I know 2 to the power of 6 is 64 off the top of my head, but it's a calculator question, so you could do 2 to the power of 6 and then press equals, and that's equal to 64. So we've got that 64 is equal to y cubed. Now, well, 64 is a cube number. 4 cubed is equal to 64 because 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. So that means that y is going to have to be equal to 4. Y is equal to 4. So here, y cubed is equal to 64. So 4 cubed is 64. So y is equal to 4. So that's it. Another way to do it is, because we know that y cubed is 64, if we do the cube root of 64, that's equal to 4. So it means that y is equal to 4, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 19. So question number 19 says, write 81 as a power of 3. So let's consider the powers of 3. So we've got 3, well, that's not equal to 81. Times 3, well, 3 times 3 is 9, that's not 81. Times 3, that's 27, that's not 81. Times 3 again, that's equal to 81. So that means if we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, that's equal to 81. Now that's going to be 3 to the power of 4, because there's 4 3's multiplied together. So that means that the power of 3 would be 3 to the power of 4, and that's it. So as a power of 3, 81 is 3 to the power of 4, and that's it. So whenever you ask a question like that, it just means write this number as 3 to the power of something, and we've done 3 to the power of 4. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 20. So question number 20 says, write 4 cubed as a power of 2. So we want to work out what 4 cubed is to begin with. And actually, we looked at that a couple of questions ago. 4 cubed is 64. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. Times 4 is equal to 64. So we've got 4 cubed is equal to 64. Now we want to write this as a power of 2. So that's 2. That's just 2. Times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. Times 2 is equal to 32. Times 2 is equal to 64. So that means that 64 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 to the power of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 to the power of 6 is equal to 64. And we were asked to write 4 cubed as a power of 2. Well, 4 cubed is 64, and 64 as a power of 2 is 2 to the power of 6. So 2 to the power of 6, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our last question, question number 21. So question number 21 says, Mary and David think of the same number. So they're thinking of the same number, maybe it's 10 or 8 or negative 4 or 0.9 or something like that. And David squares the number and Mary cubes the number. So whatever number they had, David squares his one and Mary cubes her one. And remember, it was the same number. And the question is it possible for David's answer to be greater than Mary's answer? And explain your answer. So let's have a look and see. So let's choose a number to begin with. Let's choose 10. And David squares his number, so 10 squared. So 10 squared is equal to 100. And Mary cubes the number, so she cubes 10. And 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. Now the question is it possible for David's answer to be greater than Mary's? As you can see here, Mary's answer is greater than David's number, so that actually isn't, what we were looking for. So let's try something else. So instead of choosing 10, let's try another number. I'm going to try 1. So I'm going to do 1 squared, so for David, so 1 squared, and 1 squared is equal to 1. And Mary cubes the number, so 1 cubed is equal to 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Now that's the same, but the question is it possible for David's answer to be greater than Mary's answer? So now let's try another number and see if we can think of something else. Okay, so I'm going to try 0.9 and see what we get here. So David squares the number, so 0.9 squared. So 0.9 times 0.9, 0.9 multiplied by 0.9. So to do 0.9 times 0.9, there's a few different ways we can do it. One way is to do 9 times 9, so 9 times 9 is equal to 81. And 0.9 is 10 times smaller, and 0.9 is 10 times smaller. So if we take our answer and we divide it by 10 and by 10 again, we'll get the answer here. So 81 divided by 10 is 8.1, and divided by 10 again is 0.81. So that means that David's answer would be 0.81. So that's one way we could have done that. Another way is to look at the number of digits after the decimal point, and you could do 9 times 9 is 81, and then in the question you'd have 2 digits after the decimal point, so it would be 0.81. There's different ways to look at that until we find out that 0.9 times 0.9 is 0.81. Okay, now Mary cubes her number, so let's try 0.9 cubed and see what we get. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to be smaller than David's answer. So let's do 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9. So 0.9 multiplied by 0.9 multiplied by 0.9 and see what we get. So 9 times 9 times 9. Well, 9 times 9 is 81, and multiplied by 9 again is 729. And I know that because we've worked that out previously in the booklet. You could work it out 9 times 9 times 9 by writing it out, and you get that's equal to 729. Now this answer, because instead of 0.9 we times this by 10 and times that by 10 and times that by 10, we need to take our answer and divide it by 10 and divide it by 10 and divide it by 10 again, or dividing it by 1,000. So dividing it by 10 would be 72.9, dividing it by 10 again would be 7.29, and dividing it by 10 again would be 0.729. So it means that 9 times 9 times 9 is 0.729. Another way to do it is whenever you're multiplying decimal numbers like this together, you could ignore the decimal points and do 9 times 9 times 9, and then just count the number of digits after the decimal points in the question. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then you just put the decimal point in as 3 digits after it, whichever way you approach your multiplying by decimals. And so that means that 0.9 cubed is 0.729. And if we look at these, David's answer is 0.81, and 0.81 is greater than 0.729 because obviously he's got 8 tenths and she's only got 7 tenths, so his answer is greater than her answer. So is it possible for David's answer to be greater than Mary's? Yes, it is. And that's it. And I've just written yes, if they choose 0.9 or any value between 0 and 1, his value will be greater than his, or his answer will be greater than hers, and that's it. And that's it. So these have been the video solutions to the indices practice questions. I really hope you found this video useful. If you need any extra help on indices, if you go to corbettmaths.com/contents, scroll down to video number 172, and there's a fantastic video tutorial there on indices. Alternatively, you can scan this QR code. But again, I really hope you found this video useful. And if you have found it useful, please like and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.